I just drove in from Lake Tahoe to the west gate of Yosemite National Park. Well, actually, I'm an hour outside the west gate in the Stanislaus National Forest at a free campground that's right next to the Tuolumne River, which is absolutely raging. And today I'm going to spend the evening just cooking and preparing some food that will be a little bit more ready to go in the days to come, as I plan to spend long days in the park exploring. So I'm gonna get started on cooking right away because I'm not sure what time it is right now, but by the time I pulled up here it was a little after 5, and this is bear country. This campsite did come equipped with a bear food locker, so I just don't want it to get too late while I'm cooking because that's not a very safe practice in bear country. I have been camping and cooking for years, and one of the main things that I would suggest to anyone that's looking to come out and camp and cook is a concept called mise en place. It's a French culinary term that literally translates to everything in place. Before you get started, lay out all your supplies, take inventory of what you have things accessible and on hand. I set up my stove, started preheating my pot, laid out all the utensils and spices that I would need, and even put out my camp sink so that as I'm dirtying dishes and I'm done with them, I can move them over to my camp sink. I've got paper towels, I've got disinfectant wipes, all out and ready to go, because it's different than being at home set up where you have things ready to go. Basically, you're already mise en place in your kitchen most of the time, unless maybe you're trying a new recipe. But when you're setting up your kitchen every day and the setup is slightly different, just having everything out and accessible before you even get started is my biggest tip for stress-free camp cooking. One of the reasons that I like to batch cook is because I don't like to do dishes. So the more I can make ahead of time and just repurpose, reheat, reuse, eat cold, all that kind of stuff, the better it is. Not only is it the time that it takes to cook, but it's the time and the resources that it takes to clean up. As usual, I'm going to close out my night at camp doing some reading. I have been reading Edward Abbey's The Monkey Wrench Gang since January. In the meantime, I have completed about 5 other books. A lot of times I read up to 3 books in one time, something in the morning, and then maybe a couple of things in the evening that I switch between. I'm having a really hard time with this one. I'm on page 185 of 421 pages after that many months. And Edward Abbey had been recommended to me, and I've talked to a couple of friends since picking this one up and just expressing the challenges that I've had really getting into it. And it's been suggested to me that I might do better with some of Abby's nonfiction. This book is a work of fiction, and I really can't relate to the protagonists. They are not heroic characters in a conventional sense, at least. And yeah, it's been a challenge for me to really just want to be reading it. The really cool thing about it is that as I was traveling throughout Utah, because this book does take place in Utah, in some very real places, some very real places, I would be like, oh, Comb Wash, I stayed the night there last night. That's crazy. So I could really visualize what's happening in it. So that I'm still trying to finish it here. But I was hoping to finish it before my travels in Utah were over, because I really like my reading to be informed by my environment. It's something that I picked up doing last summer when I first hit the road. I actually went through like this whole journey where I ran into, in Cook City, Montana, a little book about Ernest Hemingway's time in Cook City, Montana. I bought that book. I read it, and if you've seen my Yellowstone road life vlog, then that vlog was very much informed by that book. And then from there were things that they were explaining in the history of that time that I was intrigued by. So I kind of went on like this whole journey where I was learning about John Coulter and the Lewis and Clark expedition, mapping the western United States, trappers, and then I was learning about trappers and how many beaver pelts they were getting and how much of a fortune people were making from that. And I was like, I've never even seen a beaver in the wild in person. I have seen evidence of them, but never an actual animal. And they're describing so many beavers in this book. So then I started reading about what wildlife in America was like before white man settled. And that was a real eye-opener. And then I started reading about Indigenous peoples and First Nations, because I kind of wanted to get an idea of how white man settling not only impacted wildlife, but a greater appreciation of how it impacted First Nations through colonialization. And so that just took me on this whole big journey. And then when I was settled in Utah a bit, I wanted to pick up some books that were more concerning Utah, and unfortunately kind of got stuck here with this one. And now my travels have taken me to California. So I've got some things on deck, some John Muir and some other books pertaining to Western forests and things like that. But I'm also open to any suggestions. I've gotten some really great suggestions from viewers in the past, so please leave me a comment if you have any suggestions on anything that you think I should read. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get through this bad boy.